Hello, my name is Mandy Borsico, and in this video I'm going to review 8 steps of completing a bargue drawing. Now this is more an aide memoire than a comprehensive lesson on bargue. Here I've got a piece of 18 by 24 masonite board and a nice print of a level 1 bargue drawing. This is blown up to about double the size of the original from Roger Ackroyd's book, The Charles Bargue Drawing Course. And over here I've got a piece of Stonehenge pearl grey paper. I've set up my board like this because I'm a right-hander with a copy on the left and the paper on the right. The first thing to do now is to take a T-square and draw a line along the bottom of the copy, which will be the bottom axis of our drawing, and to draw a line along the right hand side of our copy, which will be the right hand axis of our drawing. And we'll take a ruler and measure exactly how wide our drawing is going to be, 4.75 inches, and place a mark at 4.75 inches where we're going to do the vertical line on our paper. Bargue has provided us with a guide of what the initial block-in should look like. This will be our first step. There are various ways of measuring, and the way that I like best is using a red thread. I use this thread to measure major points, measuring each point twice, once vertically and once horizontally. If I'm measuring this point right here, I'll make a mark so I know I'm measuring the same point. Bring it over. Once I have a few points or coordinates in place, I can start to sketch and block in. And we want to continue these very generalized lines for the outside shape and the shadow shape. The block-in of the contour and the shadow shape is now in place, and we will now put a very light tone into the whole shadow area. Do this fairly neatly using a sharp 2B pencil. Once a light tone is in place for the whole shadow area, the drawing has now progressed from a line drawing to one that's about mass and volume. With the light tone, it's much easier to see our shapes as we now do the articulation. That means that we correct and refine the shape and articulate all the smaller differences, all the details. So we're moving away from a very generalized drawing to one that's a lot more accurate. When the articulation of the shape has been done, then we want to tone in our shadows quite a bit darker to about a value 7. We now have all the articulation done, and in theory our drawing is correct, although in practice we should always correct our shapes at every stage. If the drawing is now correct, we can erase out all the construction lines and continue with our next step, which is big form modeling. In big form modeling, what we want to do is do a gradation in the lights to start to turn the form. Now we turn our attention back to the shadows and bring these to a complete finish. This involves the bedbug line, turning at the edges of the contours, cast shadows, reflected lights, and any other shapes that we see in the shadows. In this particular drawing, there isn't too much detail in the lights. There is some that we haven't dealt with yet and some tone here, so that's what we're going to deal with in finishing up the drawing. Now that we've finished our rendering of the lights, it's time to pull the whole drawing together and put some finishing touches in here. Finishing touches would involve picking out some of these dark spots, filling in what appears to be a bit too light, and dealing with the contour edges and erasing out any other construction lines that we can see. And this is the finished drawing. If you'd like to take Bargue lessons with me at my studio, please write to me.